Hello everybody, this is Allison Harrell with the Fort Bend Museum, and today's recipe is for marshmallow pudding. Now, this handwritten recipe card was one that I found in a collection of papers marked Marie Guenther's papers. Now, Marie Guenther was John Moore Jr.'s mother-in-law, and she did live with John Moore Jr. and his wife Dorothea for quite some years before moving back to San Antonio. Now, this recipe is one that we did cut in thirds when we were testing it, just because we didn't want an astronomical amount of marshmallow pudding. We just wanted a little bit. The first thing we did for this recipe was to figure out how much gelatin we actually needed. The recipe called for 1 package of gelatin, but we only needed 1/3 of 1 package. So we measured out the gelatin in 1 package and then figured out that 1/3 of that would be about 1/2 teaspoon plus 1/4 teaspoon. So about 3/4 of 1 teaspoon. So we put that powder into a separate bowl off to the side, and then I started mixing the egg whites. The egg whites needed to be beaten until they were stiff. Now, we were only using 2 egg whites instead of the 6 the recipe required because, again, we were cutting the recipe in thirds. The eggs were separated off camera because we actually used the yolks and only the yolks for another recipe we were trying at the time, so we just had 2 egg whites on hand already separated. Beating the egg whites until they were stiff actually took quite a while, so you can see we did trade off at one point. So while the eggs were still being beaten, the gelatin powder was mixed with the 1/4 cup of boiling water and 1/4 cup of cold water in succession. So first the boiling and then the cold. The recipe says to add the egg mixture to the gelatin slowly. So we tried that first. We added some of the egg mixture onto the top of the gelatin and stirred it together, but we weren't sure if that's actually what we were supposed to do. So we ended up pouring all the gelatin mixture into the egg mixture and mixing it all together with the same whisk that we'd been using to beat the egg whites stiff. Now, we also added in 1 cup of sugar at this point. And at this point, we weren't actually sure if this recipe was going to work. Everything got really soupy, it didn't look very good, and so we ended up beating it for a while, and then we just kind of weren't sure what to do, so we ended up putting it in the refrigerator. Every couple of minutes, we checked on the bowl in the fridge and re-whipped it all together to try and keep it all together and keep it from separating. So we weren't really sure if we had done this recipe correctly, but in the end, we checked one more time and it was finished. So this is our marshmallow pudding. You can see it is very solid, very bubbly, and I actually kind of enjoy this one. It kind of tastes a little bit like just the meringue topping off of a lemon meringue pie, but kind of fun. I like it. So let us know if you make your own. Bye.